And Kaiju number 8, volume number 1 is written and drawn by Naoa Matsumoto, translation by David Evelyn, and touch-up art and letters by Brandon Bovia. And this story is about a guy named Kafka Hibino. He's a dude who works for what's known as the Monster Sweepers, and they are effectively a kaiju cleanup crew. And we find out pretty early on in this story that Kafka actually did not want to be a Monster Sweeper. Instead, he wanted to be a member of the Defense Force, i.e. the monster hunters of this universe. No, not you. Wrong IP. But he flunked out during the testings and then just joined the Monster Sweepers, and that's where he's at in life. And immediately I connect with this guy because, you know, he had dreams and aspirations, but unfortunately, life just said, no, you're going to do something else, something less glamorous. You're going to join normal society. No awesome, cool, epic adventures for you, sir. And so he fell into his habits, got up, went to work, had some drinks, went home, had some more drinks, passed out, got up, and did it all again the next day. It's not until one day he goes in and finds that someone new has been hired, a guy by the name of Reno Ichikawa, who actually has aspirations of joining the Defense Force himself, and figures that joining the Monster Sweeper division to learn, you know, the inner workings of a kaiju might help him in some way. And being the new guy, Ichikawa is placed under Kafka's supervision, and at first the two, you know, they're definitely kind of at odds because you have Kafka who has tried to chase his dreams, he's failed, therefore he's a lot more jaded about life versus Ichikawa's perspective, who is younger and he has that more youthful perspective of, you know, I'm never going to quit until I've achieved my dreams. It's not until they're in the midst of a kaiju attack where the two really start to connect, as neither one is willing to let the other die on their behalf. And just when it looks like the two are about to meet their end, they are luckily saved by the Defense Force's 3rd Division, specifically our next character, Mina Ashiro. And throughout this volume, we find out that Mina and Kafka were actually childhood best friends who, you know, witnessed the tragedy of a kaiju attack together and, you know, made a pact that they were both going to join the Defense Force and, you know, become like the best kaiju slayers imaginable. And it's also during, you know, these flashback scenes of them making these promises that we discover Kafka's, you know, main reason for typically hating kaiju, at least as far as the book is telling us right now, is that his video game system got destroyed after he had made like substantial progress in it. And we also kind of come to understand that Mina is more or less annoyed at the fact that, you know, Kafka couldn't even hold up his end of the bargain to begin with. And so Kafka and Ichikawa are taken to the hospital in order to recuperate, and we get, you know, some more dialogue between the two, and kind of in his own way, Ichikawa saying thank you to Kafka, you know, for not abandoning him. So Ichikawa tells Kafka that, hey dude, maybe you should try the Defense Forces again, you know, I think you do have what it takes, and they did raise the age limit. So Kafka thinks about it for a second and is like, you know what, yeah, maybe I will try it again. And it's then at that moment where, you know, things really go wrong because this flying mini kaiju thing comes in and just swoops right down into Kafka's throat and turns Kafka into a kaiju. So naturally, Kafka and Ichikawa are both freaking out, and, you know, even though Kafka has turned into a kaiju, Ichikawa is still kind of like, all right, you know, maybe we can figure something out here. And then, of course, Kafka ends up having to run, and Ichikawa chases after him, and we learn some very interesting things about Kafka's new form here. One in particular, that he pees out of his nipples. And during this process, they happen onto another kaiju assault in which, you know, a mother and her child are about to be killed, but Kafka comes in and shows that he is now faster and stronger than probably any other kaiju they've seen up to this point. I mean, he just annihilates this thing in like a single blow. I mean, it's raining down blood. I almost wish this scene had been colored because the imagery was just, oh my god, it was so good. So it's after this that Ichikawa is like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna help you, man. I'm gonna stick by your side. We're gonna figure this out. So, you know, 3 months passes by, and it turns out that both Ichikawa and Kafka had passed the written tests in order to get into the Defense Force, which means the physical is next. And luckily around this time, Kafka has more or less gotten somewhat of a handle on controlling his kaiju form. Turns out he is able to revert back to his human form. But whenever he's like not concentrating or anything like that, parts of him still kind of turn, which eventually leads them to going to the physical, in which we are now introduced to our next character in this series. And that is Kikori Shinomiya, who's this kind of, rich girl with this chip on her shoulder, a big superiority complex, and just fashions herself the best thing since sliced bread. And after this quick interaction between her, Kafka, and Ichikawa, they head inside, the physical is underway, and Kafka totally blows it. I mean, he just fails on almost every level possible. It's truly fascinating that he could do that bad and then they would still even let him proceed to like the last phase of the exam. Like even Ichikawa is like, damn dude, maybe you should have used your powers, maybe just a little bit. And Kafka is sort of like putting out there that nah, it wouldn't be right, it wouldn't be fair to all the other testes and stuff like that, I can't cheat like that. And then he blows up and is like, what am I kidding? Of course I wanted to cheat, but I'm still learning how to control this stuff, man. Did I mention the comedy in this book that when it hits, it just hits? But never mind that, we've got the third part of the exam, which is none other than killing kaiju, like live kaiju. Yeah. And again, Kafka is just, he gets wrecked. He gets so wrecked to the point that they are like getting ready to just pull him out of the exam because he's basically a liability in there. And in fact, it's Kikori who's just wrecking house everywhere. She's passing everything with flying colors. It's like, yeah, she's gonna be the next Mina in a way. And after she kills the final kaiju in the area, it's like, okay, cool, test is over, all's well and good for those that, did good, Kafka notwithstanding. But then a mysterious kaiju comes in and resurrects the one that Kikori just killed. And yeah, she gets owned. Despite her best efforts, she does not stand a chance at this point. And it's here we get more into her backstory and why she, is such a perfectionist, why she does have this superiority complex. It's not because she herself may feel like she's better than everybody. It's just her way of more or less trying to please her dad. Because as we saw, she was going through school and she's coming home with like these really good grades, better than everybody in the class. And, while she's watching like all these other parents just so proud of their kids for doing their best, and her dad's just kind of like, excellence isn't an achievement, it's expected. Which I'll admit, man, that hurt me just reading it. I can just imagine this little girl coming home, from like preschool or something. She made a little handprint and turned it into a turkey for Thanksgiving or something. And her dad's like, you ain't no Picasso. And it totally explains why she acts the way she does. But of course, all the sensors are going crazy in the control room and stuff like that. They're like, yeah, the kaiju kind of sprung back to life. And then, Kafka kind of catches wind of the whole scenario and he's like, okay, now I need to go help. And that's exactly what he does. He saves Kikori real quick and then he turns into a kaiju and is like, yeah, I'm going to take care of this now. And that's where the volume ends. And yeah, I'm here for it 110%. And I will say, a portion of this book's premise does remind me a bit of the Devilman movie I saw like years ago, which, you have this character, a bit of a loser and stuff until he gets the power of those he's sworn to destroy and tries to take on sort of a superhero-like approach. I just hope by the end, everything works out better for, Kafka than it did Devilman, because he died. The world, it died. But yeah, everything from the art to the action to the pacing to the comedy, it just hit for me. Another thing that this book does really well, I think, is its world building, because just from the opening and then throughout the book itself, we understand a lot of aspects about how the world works, because we understand this world that's being ravaged by kaiju and how the humans have, formed this defense force. They have this third division, which are, these monster slayers, and, even down to the cleanup crew that moves the kaiju carcasses. And I like how it also stops to tell us why the intestines are the worst part of a kaiju. They even put like a box in there as like censored. So if you're in the market to check out a brand new manga, I do recommend this one. It's pretty good. And I will return to this discussion at a later date with volume 2. So Kaiju number 8. What did you think about this book? If you've read it, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. And if you like this video, I'd love it if you'd smash that like button, share it with some friends, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and ring that notification bell for more comic book content. And if you're wondering what to watch next, consider one of these 2 videos. Alright, take care, have a great day, and as always, stay geeky.